What about electrostatic loudspeakers? This question comes from Ronald in the Netherlands, one of my favorite countries. And I love the Dutch. They're just great people. What's your opinion on electrostats? What do you like and what do you not like? You made a video on the rear side tweeters that you really loved. Is an electrostat not one big rear side tweeter? And midtones for that matter? I'd love to hear what your feelings are of electrostats in general and Martin Logan's in particular. Best regards, Ronald. Well, I have owned, I've owned a lot of electrostats. Ooh, this chair is just turning and I can't get it back. Whoop, 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 doing the twist, me and Chubby Checker. Okay, sorry, distracted yet again. I'll have to keep one foot anchored on here. This is our little setup where we're, this is called a Clio system, and we're measuring sprout speakers here. And you can, anyway, I've owned a number of electrostats, acoustats, multiple Martin Logans. What else have I owned? Well, multiple acoustats. I had the 2+2s, and I built stacks of them and made, like 4x4. It was just lots of electrostats. I kept coming back to electrostats. So electrostats, they're enticing. They're seductive. And the reason is they have a clarity to them that is unmatched in any other speaker I've ever heard. But that clarity comes at a price, and that price was too hard for me to pay over time. And that's why time and again I would be entranced by the electrostatic. I mean, so let me be a little clearer. Well, that's the whole thing, clarity. Electrostats are like a see-through window. They're very thin membrane. There's no voice coil on that membrane. Just picture a big sheet of plastic, and you have stators on either side. There's sort of perforated metal, and there's a number of ways that they do it, but in a number of them, they're perforated metal. And you've got a tight piece of very thin, very low mass plastic between them. And by using very high voltages, static electricity, moving back and forth through your power amp, through a transformer and all that, will move that membrane, and it doesn't have any heavy wires like a ribbon speaker or a planar of the kind that I really like. Its downside is it has to have the coil, the copper foil, on the membrane, which of course increases the mass, and it can't move as easily. So understanding that there's no such thing as a perfect loudspeaker, not even close. It's always going to be what compromises are you willing to accept in order to get what you want. And electrostats have that window-like clarity of, it's just every time you hear it, it's like, holy crap, this is good. I mean, it drives you nuts. Quads, that was the other one I hadn't remembered. We used to have a set of quads, and so quads, acoustats, Martin Logans. But it does come at a price. The price is, to me, too high. Loss of dynamics. They can't move very far. You need a lot of surface area in order to get any kind of air movement. They are what we term head in a vice. Our buddy over here, Sanders, whenever he shows at the Rocky Mountain Audio Show in his Sanders Electrostats, he's got a single line of chairs. I mean, normally, for an audience, we would have chairs lined out, right? Not on the Sanders thing. It's a straight line because really the sweet spot on those is really narrow. So you've got an incredibly narrow sweet spot. Bigger with a Martin Logan because they are a rounded affair. Harold Beveridge and the Beveridge Electrostats, he used to have sort of a rounded kind of thing, if I remember right. And so you've got that tiny sweet spot. you've got a lack of dynamics and certainly no bottom end. They just can't do bass, not unless you have those, what are those, the ones that Ray Kimber brings to the show all the time. They're, oh gosh, escapes me now, but they're huge electrostatic panels, you know, like they're rare, and you have to have a ton of money and a ton of room to play them. And even they don't have spectacular bass. So Martin Logan's solve it because most Martin Logan speakers have subwoofers built in that match pretty well. Not great. The speed of the electrostat is so disconnected from the speed of the woofer that it sounds disconnected. Now you can solve that with a servo like Martin Logan did in their Descent subwoofers, which I helped design. I designed the servo system for those. And that got you closer. Ooh, we're into bubbles now. But just, it's too much. I find dynamics a critical component in the music. If I can't have dynamics and bass and just, you know, power that I feel in a system, then all the clarity in the world just doesn't make it for me. So you really need to decide what price you're willing to pay. What are you willing to give up in order to have that clarity? Because they do give that to you. I'll grant them that. And I like Martin Logan's. I mean, I think if you're going to buy an electrostat and you're going to be committed to it, Martin Logan's are a pretty good way to go. So that's my opinion. All right. Good luck in your hunt for speakers, and thanks for the question. Talk to you tomorrow.